Malu, good evening. Good to have you tonight here on In Focus. I believe you have the man who's been assisting those 800 residents, Mr. Motsamai, there with you. But has there been any movement from the authorities as far as responding to the plight of these residents?
Well, Thabo, good evening. Well, there hasn't really, because what you're getting from officials, whether it's from the Human Settlements Department in Gauteng or the Mfuleni municipality, they'll tell you that, well, the land is privately owned and that, in fact, this is what the Mfuleni municipality told me, that there were interactions between these residents and them for about 2 years, essentially asking them not to build on the land because it's privately owned. But at the same time, though, the residents are saying that ever since they've lived in that piece of land, which their homes were, the municipality had been providing them with water and sanitation, and therefore they don't understand why the municipality now is saying that this land is privately owned. But also, Thabo, what we've also been hearing from some of the leaders is that before the elections, a number of promises were made to the people, on the land that they were living in. For example, one of the promises that was made was that they would be moved to a nearby development that is actually very close to where they'd lived. Well, they have not been moved. In fact, they've been kicked out. They're out in the cold, as you rightfully indicated. I want to bring in Kenny Motsamai. He's one of the people who, in fact, took in some of the, children and to sort of like help them a bit. Kenny, you took in some of the children initially. What happened to them? Are you still caring for those children, or are they back to their families here?
They are back with their mothers here. I took all of them. I think I took 20 of them with their mothers. So it was overcrowded, that place. Yeah. Then I returned them back because they didn't. It was not good for them to stay at my house while they are 20 with children, you see.
Yeah, they're now out in the cold, and it seems as if no one really is coming to their rescue. And officials saying that, well, they've been interacting with these residents for the past 2 years, telling them that, they're occupying the land illegally.
It's not true. If you look to the court order also, you will find that they were not supposed to demolish the place. Yeah. As it was, they were supposed to come here and tell these people, we are going to give you alternative place to stay. Yeah. But because you ask yourself, what kind of people are these? Yeah. Because these people are the people who voted for them.
But what's the situation, though, Kenny? Surely there is a situation, but what's that situation? You can't have women and children and people living with disability out in the cold. In fact, yesterday I was interacting with a heavily pregnant woman. You can't have a situation like that.
The child is sick now. That disabled child is very sick. He needs to go to see a doctor. The family doesn't have money. It's a problem. It's a serious problem. You ask yourself, during the apartheid era, the apartheid governments were forcefully removing people from the house. Now the ANC, they are doing this. Ask yourself why the executive mayor cannot answer the calls so that they can assist these poorless people.
One of the things, though, Kenny, that authorities will say in Gauteng is that there's a lot of land invasion problem that they have. And they will say, what is happening here talks to that. What will you say to that?
I want to say I'm one of the Liberation Striker cadre. I'm the former APLA commander. Yeah. We were fighting for the land to return back to our people. I would say let our municipality or our government provide these people with land so that this problem can be solved. Is to give our people land.
But there's no land. That's what they're going to say. Is there?
There is a land here. Except this land was sold to a person by two people who were working with the former executive mayor. But they know exactly this land was not supposed to be sold to other person. This land belonged to our African people. They can't stay without land. What we were fighting for? as freedom fighters. We were fighting for what? We ask yourself, what we were fighting for? We were saying we are fighting for the land. The return land back to us. We don't want to take land by force, but we want the government to provide our people with land. These people, they don't have land. Look where they are sleeping now.
In fact, they're not even sleeping. My understanding is that they stay like this until the wee hours of the morning just to try and keep warm. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Kenny Motsamai, he is a member of the Economic Freedom Fighters. He's one of the people, Thabo, who was first really to respond to the plight of the people here. And I was talking to one of the community leaders, Lethabong, in the last hour, pardon me there. And he was saying that one of the things that they were busy doing, Thabo, was to verify, the number of people here that have also applied for government housing. And he's saying that about 200 of the people that are now displaced had actually applied for RDP houses as early as as in the early 1990s, but they're still waiting for those houses. And I can tell you now, they're likely to wait for a bit longer, because if you look at the housing backlog in the country, it's at over 3 million. And when you drill it down to Gauteng, it's at 1.3, it's about 1.3 million. And this year alone, in the 2022-2023 financial year, the Gauteng government will only be able to provide about 11,600 houses for people who are actually waiting for houses. And of course, there's about 300,000 people that migrate to Gauteng every year. So the issue of housing and the land in Gauteng is a massive one, and at times it becomes a political hot potato.